And we're back. All right. We're back. Hopefully that, a good solid reboot solved our problems. It's kind of like a mouthy wife. Just give her a quick reboot in the ass, and sometimes it solves your problems. Sometimes that works.
So we're discussing the post-Super Bowl. The Patriots defeated the Rams. This is the 9th time the Patriots have gone to the Super Bowl since Tom Brady has taken the team over. On a note, a white wide receiver has won Super Bowl MVP. We'll see if the social justice warriors come out and start screaming and yelling about that. We're gonna I'm sure there'll be an article. There's no doubt about it that'll pop up at one point or another that there's some type of white supremacist hand at play on why a white wide receiver has won the MVP award.
And it wasn't a woman. God forbid.
Oh, clearly that's a problem, Ayam.
Clearly.
Well, clearly it's a huge problem. When it comes to sports and the fact that women just can't, I don't know what it is, they just can't compete with men on a physical level. Is this organized misogyny?
Yeah, that's what the patriarchy is. It's because we all know that sports is a social construct, and because of that, all we have to do is, make it easier for women to play. And we're not doing that, and that's oppression.
You have to get rid of it. Now, we've discussed quite a few times on this live stream, Brian, that there is a push to destroy the NFL. We had the whole concept. There's the whole thing with Colin Kaepernick. Now, for those who don't know who Colin Kaepernick is, he's a washed-up quarterback, biracial. He was raised by white parents. I think he was put up for adoption. A white family took him in. She doesn't know who his biological parents really truly are. He went to the Super Bowl in 2013 and lost to the Baltimore Ravens when he was on the 49ers. His career somewhat bottomed out soon after that, and for whatever reason, he feels that he's been subjugated to some type of nefarious white supremacy in the NFL. When that happened, it opened the door to pretty much the camel's nose got underneath the tent, and that opened up the door to sexual harassment, the whole agenda regarding concussions, how the men play too hard. This whole suck it up, be a man macho, fight through the pain is just not good. It's toxic masculinity, as they put it. Then you have the whole agenda with the cheerleaders, where the cheerleaders have had their own Me Too moment. And now we're at the point where we have men as cheerleaders. As today, the Rams had the first male cheerleaders on the sidelines. And this is a collective push to destroy the NFL. Why? Well, the NFL, gridiron football, is only played in the United States. The rest of the world doesn't like it. And the American people don't like football, which is soccer, right? Yeah. Soccer has never took off. In the last few years, you've seen this push for Americans to embrace the World Cup, to embrace the soccer teams in the Olympics. And the American people are still not really into that. The rest of the world plays it. Why don't the Americans play it? Well, in order to get Americans to be forced to like it, you have to bring down the NFL. That's the most important thing. American sports is very goal-oriented, driven to be number one. This is what the Super Bowl is about. This is what the World Series is about. The rest of the world doesn't really like that type of competition. That's why they like football, soccer. It's one. What is the scores usually? 1-0.
Yeah. Well, actually, the last World Cup score ended 0-0. I think. I remember there's been a lot of
to watch that. That sounds really enjoyable. I mean, you ask the average American in Kansas, he's thrilled to sit there and watch a bunch of crowd go when I lived in Cambodia, you saw all the Europeans gathered around the pubs watching watching soccer, and everyone's like, "Come on, Lamprey, come watch the football game. It's Manchester versus Bulgaria." I'm like, "No, that's really not. It doesn't. I don't really want to watch that." And they got really butthurt that I said I didn't want to watch it. And like, "Well, why don't you want to watch it?" I go, "Because it's fucking boring. I want high-flying action. I want men, breaking their legs and screaming and cursing. I want to see the NFL coach running up and down the sidelines yelling at people to get their shit into order." The NFL is a collective. It's a collective of men in order to achieve something great, which is to be number one. It's high stakes. It's anxiety-driven. People sit on the seat of their pants, getting drunk, enjoying themselves. Football, soccer doesn't really do that. Doesn't do it for me. I don't really like it. I like watching a great quarterback, a white guy, hurling a ball 60 yards into a receiver's hands, scoring a touchdown. That's exciting. This Super Bowl I happen to found to be quite exciting because it proved to me, and the saying goes, defense wins championships, offense sells tickets, and people don't like that. People don't like that. The final score was 13-3. The Patriots shut down the Rams on. It was a blow. It wasn't a blowout, but it was a really good defensive struggle to see both these teams. And it was also really good to see Tom Brady, who is a Trump supporter and a Republican, just open a can of shut the fuck up on everybody, as always.
Well, that's interesting. That's interesting because the whole idea, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I'm not a big football fan. Don't get me wrong. I love sports, but
we talk baseball. We love baseball, the two of us.
Yeah. I'm more of a baseball fan, but and so I do. I love sports, and I love the competitive aspect of it. And like you said, Lamprey, I like to see these teams go at it, and, compete against one another. But in the end, really, it comes down to a distraction for a lot of people. I love it. I love that distraction. I love that part of it. But at the same time, you have to remember, I don't know if it's so much they want to take down the NFL, but without the NFL, what the hell would a lot of people do? On their Sunday nights, like what would they do? I really can't see it being a takedown of it.
They probably all have to sit around the TV and watch the new season of Handmaid's Tale instead. Sounds like a punishment to me. I don't know.
They can watch Queer Eye for the Straight Guy.
I will say this. I think that anything that men enjoy doing is on the chopping block, and it doesn't matter. Now, football, I will say that it's been, like you said, I agree 100% under attack for tons of reasons. We were talking about the whole concussion thing, and I mean, like men do that job. Boxers, they go into boxing. Ultimate fight guys, like mixed martial artists enter these tournaments. People get involved in these athletic, very intense, very taxing physically, these kinds of sports, because they really enjoy it and because it's high risk, high pay, right?
Yes.
I mean, they get paid very well to do this stuff. When someone comes in and they basically have the interest of protecting men better, I can understand that to a degree, but there has to be a point at which men are allowed to choose to risk life and limb for what they want. And I think when you coddle them or when you try to pad them too much, everyone loses because the stakes go down.
Yes.
And I think people realize that something that was once risky becomes safer, and in a way it loses its grandeur. It loses like its the thing that makes it interesting, like
its luster.
Yeah, like who goes to a circus, right? If you go to a circus and you want to see the trapeze artists, and they basically they take away the net and everything, and they do some daring thing. How many people are hoping in a way, in a twisted way, that somebody fucks up and somebody falls. Like, in a way, you're watching to see if they can pull it off, but there's a part of you that doesn't want to believe that this is all fake. Yeah. You know, which maybe sometimes it is, but you want to see something that really looks like it was risky. And I think football, a lot of these sports, they are risky. People get injured, and you know, boxers, they get their head knocked around enough time, and it messes with the way they think and everything. But these are the risks that they take, and this is what people pay for. Yeah. We have to, like, in a way, okay, I think that we need to accept the reality that what we want is something like what ancient Rome had in the days of the gladiatorial arena. We want stuff like that. We try to make it safer. We try to make it a little bit more ethical, but we still want the thrill of it. And I think it sort of expresses itself in different ways. And football is one of those ways, I think. Yeah. You know, and I don't want to take that away, even though I don't watch it, because I know that it's extremely popular, especially with men. This is the kind of stuff that men like, and I think that anything men like, and it could be from physical pursuits and interests like sports to intellectual ones, you know, whether that's like being in a chess club or whatever, those are philosophers, all that stuff is all under attack.
Yeah. You know, absolutely, I totally agree. You know what you forgot to mention, brother? You forgot to mention the WWE.
Yeah, well, that's another example. Like I was talking about this the other day with my friends. I was talking about how, you know, when I was a kid, I grew up on the WWE. Now, I'm older now. I think when I watched it, I was trying to figure out. Well, I was a kid. I was just having fun, but I was looking back on that, and I was realizing that what that was a kind of gladiatorial thing for children. For mostly it was for boys. Let's be real, okay? It was aimed at boys, and these wrestlers were treated like they were like superheroes to us. Yeah. They were like, you know, they were we looked up to them in a lot of ways. That's why they had this. There was a message of positive masculinity that came from these figures. And yeah, we know that they were basically it was essentially redneck soap operas. I know that. That's basically what they are. But when you're 11, like I was 11 years old, you know, it was enjoyable. Like I followed it, and I had, you know, everybody had their favorites, and they all had like stuff that they represented. That the faces, you know, those were like the good wrestlers. They had like the good wrestlers all had stuff that they stood for, but it was all positive masculine imagery. Yeah. And I think somewhere in the 90s things got pretty cynical, and then it's still, I know people still watch the stuff, but I mean I'm too old for it. Like I know it's fake, and you know I don't get much out of it, but I don't think that I still see it as kind of a good thing. Like it was sports entertainment for kids. Maybe they can't watch a boxing match. Maybe they can't watch, you know, the old Octagon, what they used to call it, the Ultimate Deadliest Warrior or whatever they called it back in the day. Or even like, you know, maybe their parents don't want them to see like, I don't know, crazy high contact sports. Like I used to like watching Muay Thai tournaments and Taekwondo tournaments and stuff because I like martial arts a lot. But I don't know. Like, I think that there was a place for that. And I do think that was a boy thing. And I care a lot. This is the thing. I do Honey Badger Radio because I care a lot about boys and men's interests. I care a lot about masculinity. I want to preserve it. I honor it. I admire it. And I think that it's something that we've been, not only do we shit on it a lot, and it's pretty like, you know, it's pretty popular to do that, but we take it for granted every single day. And I don't think that's good. I think that's terrible. So that's my main interest. I don't care about other shit. And I see misandry in places that a lot of people don't even acknowledge as real. Like we were talking about the race thing, you know, how people are talking about white privilege and all that shit. It's about men. Like all that stuff, it comes down to men. It's not about black people. It's not about, and it really does. I'm not just injecting that in there. I think that it really is about men at the end of the day. Well, Black Lives Matter is a feminist organization. It cares about women. Yeah. We were talking about football is under attack because of soccer. I can guarantee you that if they were to destroy football, soccer will be next. It doesn't matter. As long as men are interested, they will destroy it.
Exactly. And
Well, it's funny. It's funny you say that, though. Now, I find you see how they're attacking football, American football, gridiron. Okay. Now, I acknowledge that as a collective of men. It's a group of men trying to achieve something great. Now, at the same time, now you mentioned something with UFC. Why is it that they're attacking the NFL, yet at the same time the UFC is being promoted? Okay, we have Affliction, we have the Octagon. You see many men taking up mixed martial arts, and you see that being promoted, where that is far more barbaric than the NFL. You
Because
don't get the
I
same
know why.
outcry. Well, let me give you my point on why.
Okay.
Is that the reason why is because that is the individual. You can see that the male is somewhat narcissistic. He's covered in born-to-lose tattoos. He is not very intelligent. Now, just know that in the NFL, you have to be educated. You have to be smart. It is a very, very difficult sport. All those positions are very difficult. In fact, the quarterback position is the hardest position in any sport in the world to play. You have to predict the future. That's your ability. When you see a quarterback throw a ball it's in the complete wrong direction, and you're like, why the hell did he throw it over there? It's because the wide receiver ran the wrong route, and when the quarterback's looking in one direction, he has to, in the back of his mind, he's got to think, okay, that wide receiver is now doing a hook, so he's got to be over there. So when I turn my head, he better be in that position for me to throw that ball. Sometimes if the wide receiver runs the wrong route, winds up getting intercepted, or the wide receiver trips up, so something goes wrong. Okay, UFC, MMA fighting, it's about the individual, much like the NBA. He's the star. It's a one-man show. Furthermore, it's also a little bit homosexual, a little bit sodomite-esque. Okay, because it's two guys rolling around in their blood and sweat, with their dicks and asses in front of each other's faces, pinning each other on the ground. Okay, so and when I watch guys like at the like Buffalo Wild Wings, or one of these where it's all mega TVs and IPA beers and everyone's getting drunk watching the UFC fight on the big screen, I hear these guys speaking about the fight. Look at the size of his biceps. Oh man, I wonder how much he benches. Wow, I bet you that guy can squat, and so on and so forth. Where they just talk about the guy's somatic features, how big he is, how strong he is, how tight his pants are, how he's got his balls in the other guy's face. So I see a little bit of the kind of the whole, again, I don't want to say homosexual agenda, but there's something kind of Roman Greco wrestling where, when Greco-Roman style wrestling, that was during the age where homosexuality was at its peak. Am I right, Ayam?
Well, if you're talking about wrestling itself as a sport, and you're right, with MMA, it's very similar.
Don't get me. I'm not knocking on MMA like that. I'm just making a point that where the NFL is a collective group of men, a platoon, an army, a team, versus MMA fighting, where it's just one guy who's sweaty and covered in blood and rolling around on the ground with another guy.
True. It's very true that there's a difference between like the individual aspect of, say, MMA or wrestling compared to the group sport like the gridiron. But you also at the same time, what about the hut in football? Where you're reaching through a man's legs. I mean, if you really want to go the homosexual route, I mean, you could.
I don't want to stay. That's just one part of it. The point is that the point I'm trying to make is MMA is still being promoted heavily, where it's far more barbaric, far more violent. These guys get really hurt, probably more hurt than the NFL. But the NFL is under attack, and I think it has to do with the collectiveness of men trying to achieve something, a group, an army, a group of guys trying to do something, where there's an agreement amongst the group where the individual will get snuffed out.
Right.
Okay, let's think of it like this way. We now have this wide receiver called Odell Beckham. I hate Odell Beckham. He's a piece of shit. Why? Because he's a prima donna. The rest of the team doesn't like him. Listen, it's not about you. It's about the team. If you keep carrying on like that, you are going to throw you off this team because you have to work with us. This is not about you. You are not the superstar. The superstars are us as a group.
Maybe that's why Kaepernick got tossed to the side.
Kaepernick, yeah.
Kaepernick, yeah.
Well, he wasn't very good to begin with. He was a bench warmer. So he couldn't make it as a football player, and so he made it as an activist instead. And by the way, I don't know if you guys know this, but it was shortly after he started dating some Black Lives Matter activist chick. And she basically turned him into an activist. She made him a tool. And we won't ever hear about that because this is, the way that female feminist social justice warrior types operate. They use men as their foot soldiers to do their work, and then the men become the target of for their activism. But essentially they're operating in by proxy. And I'm not taking away his agency. Like, he's absolutely made the choice to be that guy. But it didn't, like, he was basically radicalized, you could say, by her. But I want to comment on what Lamprey said about the football versus UFC thing, because I think you're onto something. I was just thinking about this. In football and in other team sports, when feminists talk about toxic masculinity, they try to use football and sports, competitive sports, as an example of that, as their primary example of that. But what's interesting is that, I don't know if you guys saw it. We did a show just this Friday. Well, I think you saw it, where I was talking about the things that actually make men happy.
Yes.
Like the things that give them better well-being. And one of those things is cooperating with other men, essentially. And sports is about team cooperation. Team sports is about cooperation. And that is the thing that men get the most enjoyment out of. I mean, winning is nice. Obviously the competition is good because when you have good competition, it makes everybody better because they want to, if they're participating in healthy competition, is good for everybody. But being in a part of a team and accomplishing a goal together is what makes men happiest in sport. That's the same thing. Like, the number one thing that makes men happy is essentially having a fulfilling career, a very satisfying, fulfilling career. And the reason for that is they like to feel as though they are part of something greater than themselves, that they're contributing to society in some way. So whether they're starting their own business or they're working for someone else. And as long as that is a healthy environment where everybody's working together, men are very, very fulfilled in this, as this is according to the study. And that makes a lot of sense to me, because I think that men, while they're painted as toxically competitive creatures, I think that we're actually cooperative. And the competition is usually done in good, it's in good spirits, basically, because it makes us all better, when you engage in healthy competition. Now that said, another thing that feminists do, and activist types, they like to pit men against other men to get them to do things. I will give an example. Obviously, I already said Colin Kaepernick is one example, because they sent a man who was in the NFL to essentially oppose the NFL. So you had one man opposing a bunch of other men that were supposed to be the team that he's on, but he's not. He's antagonizing every man that's there, right? Every man that supports the NFL, every person that watches the NFL, who most of those are men as well. But another example of that is the Gillette ad. In the Gillette ad, if you notice, the majority of the men that are being called out are being called out by other men. They even have the quote in there by, I can't remember his name, the black guy that used to do the Old Spice commercials, Terry Crews, right?
Crews, yeah.
And he's saying men have to hold other men accountable, right? So what this does is it sets men against other men. They're basically asking men, telling them, because they feel guilty for being men, that in order to somewhat get some of your dignity back, you have to be watchdogs against other men. So basically you set men against each other. And that's how you get situations like the Catholic school boys that had to face down the Native American guy, for example, because the smirk sailed 1,000 tweets or whatever.
Yeah.
But because you had created, they've already created a narrative of groups that actually have more in common than not, men, but they separate them along different lines, whether it's political affiliation or race or culture. And they've done this for years. This isn't new. And it ends up in a situation where a Native American shyster is facing down and acting like a child, by the way, in the face of high school students that are just there at some pro-life thing. And then the Black Israelites are they were there too, and they were another part of that. It's all men that are basically set against each other. So if they're for that because that produces the results that they want, then it makes sense that they would promote the UFC because that puts men against each other. And those guys, at least from what I've seen, so maybe because I don't follow the UFC stuff very closely, but a lot of those guys people consider to be, let's say, they're not examples of good sportsmanship, right? Like you said, they're narcissistic, they're arrogant, they're foul-mouthed, they don't act right, and it's not all about they're not very smart, right? It's about them antagonizing their opponents, and it's essentially just setting men against each other. Even boxers, they have rules that they follow, and then when everything is over, they're supposed to shake hands, and they mostly, if I've been in fights with guys, and usually you get into a fight with a guy, and as long as nobody's being a bitch about it after it's all over, you usually end up becoming closer afterwards.
Yeah, you shake hands and say, hey.
Yeah.
That was,
or you
that
worked
was
it
okay.
out.
Yeah.
You go get a beer later, whatever it is, right? But the point is that men are able to do that, and I think that you might have something to it if you attack sports that essentially promote male cooperation. And you drive men instead, you promote other sports that are about male aggression against other men. Because I don't think people, at least when I used to watch it, so I'm an older guy, and I'm in Chicago, and I remember watching the Super Bowl when the Bears won in 2020, Super Bowl 2020. So that was a long time ago. And back then, they beat the Patriots, by the way. And back then, sportsmanship, there was people ribbing each other and stuff, but the sportsmanship was, at a really high level. Those guys, they had a they had a desire, not just an expectation put on them, but a desire to operate at a certain level of maturity because they knew that it was a family sport. Football wasn't just for men. Their kids would sit around and watch it, and maybe the wife would too, whatever. Back then it was a big thing. When we watched the Super Bowl, the whole family was watching, and so I think it was a different animal back then. I remember the same thing was true of the Bulls, right? In Michael Jordan played for the Chicago Bulls. We got 3 championships in a row, and the guy got to be in kids movies like Space Jam and shit. It was just a different way that we treated the sport. It's nothing like it is now. No. It's nothing like that. And I think that that says a lot. Somebody said 1985. Yeah, that was probably the year. I thought it was 85 or 86, but I think it was 85.
Yeah.
Super Bowl 20.
86 was Denver Giants.
Yeah, okay.
I want to Brian, you mentioned about when men getting in fights and stuff. Have you ever had the shit kicked out of you?
Well, I wouldn't say the shit kicked out of me. I remember I used to. So I've been bullied when I was in school, but I've also been a bully. And I remember. What?
I said, "Aw."
Yeah. Well, I've been on both sides of that. That's what I'm saying. And I remember I bullied a kid named Justin. I'll never forget I don't remember his last name. I remember it's Justin. And he was this autistic kid, I think. We didn't call it that back then, but.
We just called it retarded.
Yeah, he was he seemed like he was kind of a slow kid, and I don't know why I did it. I think it was because I was in a new school. It's like going to a new prison. You want to show that you're tough and shit, because I was going to a new school. And I remember, I can't remember exactly how it happened, but I remember threatening to beat him up after school. And when I went out there, it turned out he was taking karate lessons. So, yeah, I lost the fight. But
for
you know
age.
what though? After that, we were cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, so I wouldn't say it was like a best friend, but for the rest of the time I was at
Respect.
that school, we got along. You know.
Yeah,
So
there's a level of respect. I mean,
yeah.
I've had the shit kicked out of me, man. And after the fact, I had I and the person. Not, it wasn't one person. It was about 5 people that kicked the shit out of me. Well, let me explain it a little bit. So I'm at this party, and I was a young kid. I must have been, God, maybe, I don't know, 18 years old, maybe 17, 18 years old. I'm at this party, and while I'm at the party, there's a lot of guys there that were, big hockey players.
Hmm.
And I was a long-haired musician, right?
Yeah.
I obviously don't fit in. Like I'm not a part of their crew, but I'm this long-haired musician, and I'm talking to a lot of the women there, and that's not a good thing to do. I mean that was a bad move, and I got confronted by this big fucking hockey player, a lot bigger than I was. I am. And he just it just becomes a poke. I want to fight you. And I'm just like no. But then you get to a point where you can't back out. You have to fight. There's nothing you can do. Like you have to. In those kind of situations, as a man, you have to. You have no choice. So a fight begins, and I end up on the ground with 5 guys kicking me. Like I got the shit kicked out of me. Seriously.
Yeah.
Now I managed to stand up and walk into the next room, and I mean I was dazed, confused. I mean, I was in fetal position with like 12 boots kicking me, and after I got up, the guy came in. The guy that instigated it, who didn't know my name, he didn't know who I was. He came up to me and he sat down beside me. And he goes, "Hey man. Sorry about that, but that was good. That was a good fight." I mean,
I guess. What, did he get it on tape?
what do you do after that?
I guess you just say, I'll try harder next time.
Yeah.
Do better or something. I don't know.
Yeah. But the point I'm trying to make is that when you're talking about male competition, there is that, regardless of the event or the facts of the story I'm telling you there. In the very end, the guy didn't want to be my enemy.
Yeah.
That wasn't a part of what he was thinking. I mean, I disagreed with what he chose to do and the actions he made to make that happen. But at the same time, when it was all said and done, he didn't want to be my enemy. He wanted to be my friend.
Yeah,
and in
sure.
fact, just say, "Hey, you stood up for yourself. That's really good." Even though we all kicked the shit out of you, you stood up for yourself.
Absolutely.
So there was a lesson there as well. That's a lesson that a lot of women don't ever get, I think.
Well, I was going to say, usually for men, when it comes to aggression, things bubble under the like at worst, things will bubble under the surface for a while, and then there's like a boiling point, and then you get a confrontation, and then after that, it seems like everything is cool. It's like you get it out of your system, and then I don't think guys hold grudges. That's not really the way that men work usually.
No,
and so it doesn't usually work out that way. I think that for women it's a different animal. I think the reason, honestly, is because with women, the social currency is extremely important, and so that means that people who don't operate within the way that they think that people should, it becomes a serious problem for them because the social currency is so important. So that means having people that you're not sure you can trust or who aren't like as agreeable as you are, they will be your enemy, and they will stay that way until something happens that changes your mind, but you're not going to tell them what they need to do. It's got to happen on its own. Mm-hmm. With men, we usually are more direct and confrontational, and we want to like get the shit over with, right? So I think that you tend to, if there's going to be a fight, it's going to happen, or it's just going to be an argument, or, someone's going to call somebody out and the other guy's going to be like, you know what, I just needed to hear that or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think that generally you don't get grudges that much. And it's because it's just straight up aggression as opposed to passive aggression.
I got a message here from the Truth Messenger. Women get bullied by other bitches. Female bullying is rampant. When a woman can't take out her psycho on a man, she moves on to her fellow women.
Yeah, or sometimes it's the other way around. I mean, Mean Girls is a thing. That is a really popular movie because it's based on reality. And one other thing about the UFC that I wanted to say that I didn't get to say before, that I think also supports that argument you were making about why is the UFC being promoted versus the NFL is being sort of eroded. I think it's because the UFC is also the only sort of mainstream sport that has a women's league or women's department or whatever that's as popular as the men's department. So like Ronda,
okay,
and it may have been. Well, it's okay. I just want to say one other thing about that. Okay. It may have been artificially pumped up. So let me be clear, because we have like the WNBA is a thing, but nobody watches it, right? Like nobody watches the women's basketball team. We know they exist, and they have like they're on an ESPN2 or something. But when it comes to UFC, one of the people that is in the UFC that people think about the most is Ronda Rousey, who doesn't even fight anymore.
She's in the WWE now, isn't she?
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think so. I don't know. I'll tell you what I do know about Ronda Rousey. There was one thing I remember. I remember she lost the fight to somebody. It was maybe Heather something. I can't remember her name though. And she got her ass kicked despite the fact that they were pumping her up all this time. And she lost. And then she went on Ellen. And I'll never forget it, because she was on an interview on Ellen, and she started crying and basically saying, I need to have kids with my husband. Like, basically, she just became a woman, full on, and was like, I need to start a family. I want to make kids with this man.
Now. She looks like a regular chick again.
Yeah.
She lost all of her muscle. She's back to looking feminine again. I guess, she's off the steroids or whatever fucking, horse tranquilizers that she was fucking pumping into her. But you are right. I think with the MMA fighting with the women, I think it's artificial, and I think it's to try to push female aggression. That, like, I can be a fighter too, and, I think that's part of it. And for some sicko reason, guys want to see women fight. That's just me. I mean, I don't like it.
Holly Holm, that was her name, Holly Holm. Mekong Farang said it. Thank you. I couldn't remember her name. Holly Holm, that's the one. I remember the kick. I remember the kick to the head she got. But go on. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think that it's artificially pumped up, and I think the reason why it's artificially pumped up is to promote female aggression.
Well, yeah. I mean, actually, I would say that they're definitely promoting it harder. The fights are probably real between the women. I do remember Fallon Fox, the transgender female fighter, is just wrecking women in the ring. And so I'm waiting for her to become champion. Look, I don't wish harm on anybody, but I think it would be funny if the champion of the women's circuit of the UFC is actually a trans woman, and that no one can beat her. Because I bet you that even though she's gone through she could go through all the surgery and all the hormones, she's going to have way more testosterone and way more muscle mass than any other woman that enters the ring. And that's why Fallon Fox, I'm pretty sure she's undefeated. I mean, easily undefeated. So,
well, that's the other thing that's part of our discussion. I mean, as far as football and sports is concerned, is that we are witnessing in our modern age, we're witnessing this sort of influx of femininity into these masculine sports.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for example, there's many examples. I mean, let me go back to wrestling for a moment. I like you, Brian, I was a big wrestling fan as a kid, right? And I go back and I watch it for the nostalgia. I love that. I know kayfabe. I know how fake it is. But just to see that entertainment is wonderful, and I love it. But in recent years, I've noticed, going back and looking at wrestling again, is that women's wrestling is becoming more and more of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's becoming part of the mainstream entertainment. In the past, women's wrestling was there, but it didn't make the television shows.
Oh, I remember Glow. I used to watch that too. It was not wrestling though. It was just girls in costumes. Yeah, but still, it was like a Las Vegas thing. It was basically like Playboy bunnies wrestling each other. It was great.
Yeah, and now it's starting to become a real part of the limelight for wrestling entertainment. Much more than it used to be. There's more women coming out with male wrestlers, accompanying them. Women wrestlers are fighting male wrestlers. All right, and this has been slowly leaked in, and now as we're talking about football, we're seeing, again, in the headlines, women trying to push their way into these male-centric sports. For example, the Antoinette Tony Harris.
Yeah.
And this is not an accident, man.
No, not at all. Not at all. I guess the Antoinette Harris ad, for those guys who don't know, is basically a Toyota ad, and Antoinette Harris is the first, probably, female college football athlete. So she's on the college football team. I forget what the college is, and she is a female that plays on that team, and she wants to be the first female NFL player. And she got a scholarship to go to this school, and she got on the team. And what we were talking about before the stream,
East Los Angeles.
East Los Angeles.
That's
okay.
The college.
East LA College.
Yeah.
What we were talking about before the streams started dying and stuff was I was basically calling into question, first off, how easy was it for her to get a scholarship to go to a college? Because as a black woman, black women go to college more often than black men.
Yes.
There are more black women going and finishing college than black men, for one. And then being both black and a woman gives you a higher chance of getting in. If you played football in high school, which I assume that she did, then I bet that just because this college in East LA wanted to be the first one to have a female college football player, they could have made sure that she got the scholarship or whatever. I would not be surprised if she got a leg up in every step of the way here. Yeah. And the sad part about it is that she will be pandered to. Title IX protects her, so that will actually keep her from being thrown off for whatever reason unless she chooses to quit herself. It is likely that not only her team is going to sugarcoat whatever it is she does and her coach, but opposing teams will probably be careful around here because men who are football players don't want to tackle her with the same, let's say,
authority.
Bravado. Yeah, the same bravado, the same gumption that they might a male player.
Yeah.
So I don't know what position she plays, but the ad makes it look like she's just another linebacker, or another quarterback or something. And I have my doubts. I have my doubts about all of that. But it doesn't matter because it's all about the narrative. Like, most people are going to see the ad. They're going to say, oh, my God, that's great, a female football player. They're not going to do any research. They're going to try and figure out, what exactly she does.
Safety.
How exactly she got in.
She's playing safety. That's her position.
She's playing safety. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, it's just virtue signaling. It's empty.
Yeah.
And it's what sells. I predicted that when the Gillette ad came out, I was telling people on our show, I said, if you think this is bad, wait until the Super Bowl. There's gonna be multiple ads that are gonna do this. Now, I didn't see anything. I didn't see every ad though. I will be fair. I tried to look for shit, but I didn't see anything that was as egregious as the Gillette ad. I don't think people are gonna rage about it as much.
Yeah.
But I may have missed something. But there were a few things. There was that ad. And then there was the Serena Williams one, which I just found that one funny more than anything. But I'll let you guys talk.
Well, the Serena Williams one, what was that one?
You didn't know about that one?
Well,
it's just
I had an article up that had all the ads in it, and I kind of skimmed through it. But what was it about exactly?
I forgot what she was selling. It was like it was like some app that does something, but it really wasn't about that much. I mean, basically, Serena Williams was giving a kind of inspirational speech to girls everywhere to, never think that you're not enough. Don't she say, don't wait for wait to be rewarded, go get it yourself. These kinds of messages. And essentially it ended with her saying something like that women have always had power, and that you don't have to wait until it's given to you, or something along those lines, which, by the way, I agree with, but I don't think in the way that she thinks. Like, she puts it in this way that girl power is real and all you got to do is seize it, without realizing that she still frames with female power in a masculine framework, which it's not. Female power does exist, absolutely. It is not in the same way that male competency or competence does. But the thing that's really funny about it is that this is the same woman that not long ago cried about being discriminated against because she was a black woman, because she got penalized by a judge multiple times because she acted like a child while she was playing tennis against a black Japanese mixed girl who was just better than her.
Yeah.
Just better than her. And it was really funny.
There's a lot of people that think she's a man, but that's besides the point. The ad was for Bumble.
Bumble, that's right.
Which is an app.
Oh, you know about Bumble?
I don't know, what is Bumble?
I not know what Bumble is.
Yeah, I know what it is. It's a fucking dating app.
Is it?
Yes, it's a goddamn dating app.
Well, she's like getting married or something. Maybe she met her man on Bumble.
She's marrying a white dude, and this goes back to the push of interracial marriage. And there was I saw 3 of those tonight. Again, you got to look for obviously black guy, white chick, black guy, white chick.
Yeah, usually
over and over. That's usually what's pumped. Serena Williams, not the same case. She's marrying a white dude.
Well, the article that I had up said this app ad employs Serena Williams to deliver its message of female empowerment. So right away they're just saying it. They wear it on their fucking sleeves.
The empowerment is that women get to choose on Bubble, guys don't. Versus Tinder.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you would never have a man sponsor an ad for a dating app. Never. It doesn't make any sense because
it's looking for chicks in Pattaya, Thailand, and then it's a great app.
That's a really strange app to play during the Super Bowl. So are they saying that single women are watching the Super Bowl, but not because I don't know why you would play it then. That's the thing I don't get. Like, how many women do they think are watching the Super Bowl? I don't. It just seems like a really strange place to put that ad.
It does.
And Serena Williams is married, so why would she promote an ad if she's not even using it? Like, that also doesn't make sense,
Absolutely.
It is weird. And I mean, like, the interracial thing, like, but I've noticed that for a long time. You see it all over TV and film, and, it's obvious that it doesn't reflect reality.
What about you, Brian? Are you interracially married?
Yeah, I am interracially married, but I think that's... But I do think that that's like the exception, and I personally don't care if people get interracially hooked up. I guess the thing that it's a strange thing because you notice that it's being pushed a lot, and in a way I take a little bit of issue with that because I'm more of a why don't you just let people do what they want to do kind of person. Like, I don't care what you're into,
Well, hold on a second. Let me read the rest of this, what this article said about that ad. Well, just the last line here. It's a good sign for the spot that I knew only generally what Bumble was before seeing it. So the author obviously didn't even know what the fuck that app was. And he says, but I was able to suss out that it's a dating app where women make the first move.
Mm-hmm. It's the only app like that, guys. Women normally don't have any power in choosing their mates. Blows my mind.
Oh,
you know what? You know
my
what?
God.
Actually, I'm not gonna like dig on this too much, but I watched a thing. You should watch this and maybe say something about it sometime.
Okay.
Maybe we can talk about it on a future stream on your channel or whatever. I saw a part of. I have to go back and watch the whole thing.
Okay.
Rollo Tomasi, the guy, the PUA guy. You know who Rollo is?
Rollo Tomasi?
Yeah, I think his name is Rollo Tomasi.
How do you spell that shit?
Is Rollo is Rollo. Tomasi is Tomassi.
Okay.
And he's basically like one of the leading figures in the pickup artist community. He's a big PUA guy. Now, I've never.
He's got a Wikipedia page.
Yeah, he's big. He's like Roosh V big, you know. He's like one of the big ones.
Okay.
I mean, the PUA community. This is the thing about this is the truth of it, and I don't think it's really like surprising. But of all like the red pill sort of manosphere communities, the pickup artists are the biggest one, the largest, the most popular with men, right?
Yeah.
And I think that I have some issues with the pickup artists, but I do think that there is some useful information there for men. But my big problem with PUAs is that they revolve their value around female approval, and I think that that's the wrong tack to take.
Well, that's why they hate MGTOW.
Yeah, they don't like MRAs either. They think that MGTOW and MRAs are doing everything wrong.
Yeah.
And they think that men should just try to get while the going's good. And basically, just do that, right? But I have to know what they're up to. I don't see them as enemies per se. I don't roll like that. But I want to see what they're
You
doing.
don't Rollo Tomasi like that?
No, I don't Rollo Tomasi like that. But he did a big long presentation, like an hour and a half, and one of the things that what I was basically getting at is that irritates me is that these guys, they think that they have the power to choose women. They think that with enough game, it puts PUAs in the selection position, and they also have these crazy beliefs about like if you can game a woman long enough, then you can keep them kind of like subservient or submissive to you. Mm-hmm. And that to me just sounds like way too much fucking work. And I don't if you're doing that much work to keep a woman, first off, are you actually the one choosing and in a power of the position of power to choose?
Yeah.
Secondly, are you actually benefiting for how much effort it takes to just continuously play this game? Thirdly, are you even being yourself? Because this is like the thing, like if I can't just be who I am around somebody without having to worry about whether they're going to like that or not, or if they're going to like, choose to spend their time with somebody else or not, I don't want to fucking do it. And I don't think any man should do it. I think you should only expend energy on people that are going to value it and are also going to expend energy on you. And it should be at the point where, you don't really, it doesn't really feel like you're making that much effort. Like it comes natural. And I think that, I guess I just wanted to comment on that because the joke we're telling about the Bumble ad being the first app that lets women make the first move, the thing that it's stupid because women always men make the first move in terms of taking a risk, but women have often decided whether they're interested or not, like either way before that or seconds after you introduce yourself. Yeah. And you may as well just like accept that as the reality. Women choose, and that's it. So
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, when it comes to the female-male relationships, from a MGTOW level, and I'm sure you understand this as well, even though you are a married man, the women decide. They decide who they bed down with, not men.
Yes. Yes.
Men don't make that decision, man. They never have. I mean, I knew that when I was still blue-pilled.
Yeah. But here's the thing, though, too. I will add something, and this is something that men have to realize and take back. Women are, in fact, the ones that decide whether or not they sleep with you. They are the gatekeepers of sex.
Yes.
But men are the gatekeepers of commitment.
Yes.
Men are the ones that decide if they want to stay with you.
Yes.
And that has to be acknowledged. And this is vitally important to men. Remember that yes, it's true. A woman decides whether she wants to sleep with you, but a man decides whether he wants to keep you. And
Yes.
you have to acknowledge that as a man, that you have that, you are in that position. At least you have that.
At least.
Well, yeah, men have to handle the rejection up front. Women have to handle the rejection on the back end.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't do it very well.
No, they don't. But the thing is that men don't realize they have that power. They don't realize they have the power of controlling commitment, and they have to remember that they do.
Yeah.
Because that's the reason why a lot of these marriages and relationships, they end so badly for men, because they don't think a lot of times women and men, we've been conditioned to believe that a relationship is a power struggle between the two sexes when it's not. And so women in particular become, really competitive and manipulative and in a relationship, and it's usually to try to wrest power. And I've had my share of multiple relationships with girls where they think that once we're in a relationship, now it comes down to who has the power in the relationship.
Mm. Well, that's
okay.
Mekong Farang just made a comment that says they may decide to lay down with you, then regret it later and claim it was rape. And that's actually a point I wanted to bring up, is that yes, men have the power of commitment, but the process, there's a process towards commitment, and that process often involves intimacy between a man and a woman, and that process has been destroyed, completely destroyed, to the point where a man cannot trust intimacy with a woman, because not only will she come down on him, but the law will come down on him, and society will come down on him.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think that whole thing that he's talking about, that's one of the ways in which the male power over commitment has been eroded as well, because essentially a woman who regrets having sex with a man, and a lot of times when women have regret sex, like they regret it later, is because the man it turns out that man didn't want to be her boyfriend, or he didn't want to give her as much time, or she was too clingy or something like that, and then he essentially rejects her future advances.
Yes.
Or he got what he wanted and she made it too easy for him, and then she decides she's going to essentially get revenge on him, and she makes an accusation. So the fact that we take these seriously, I think, is one of the ways in which that has been eroded. Yeah.
Well, and not only that, and I think that leaks over, it spills over into other aspects of society, not just interpersonal relationships. But as this stream started off with sports, I think that we can easily say that when it comes to that kind of manipulation, it doesn't have to be something interpersonal between two people. Now it becomes something broader, where we have the Me Too movement, and the Me Too movement isn't just Harvey Weinstein and some upstart bitch that wants to be a movie star. It's a lot bigger. Yeah. It's a lot bigger than that. I mean, it's now seeped into every aspect of our goddamn society, which includes the sports. And we're going to see it again. I mean, with women coming into sports, what do you think is going to fucking happen? Let's say this Antoinette girl becomes the first female NFL player. I mean, we've talked about how it'll affect the sport itself, where men won't want to tackle her. Give her the ball and she can run to the end zone because nobody wants to hurt her. That's one thing. And I think you did mention this, Brian. What happens if they do tackle her?
Yeah.
Then they call it rape.
No, she could call it. Yeah, they could call it rape, assault, whatever. They could say. I mean, seriously. If she just hurts herself a little bit too much, they could ruin the whole team, the whole college. It's very easy if she decides to. You know, it's like there's a loaded gun in the room and she's the only one that has access to it.
Yes. Yeah.
So it all comes down to whether or not she decides to use that power. And I think that is going to work out very badly for that college. Very soon.
Absolutely.
Very soon.
And not just for that college.
Mm-hmm.
Not just for that college. It's going to work out bad for the sport. It's going to work out bad for the spectators, the people that are involved in it. It's a very serious poison, man. Very, very serious. I don't think people really understand that.
No, I don't think so either. It's not good.
Well, if we consider what we've talked about with PUA-ism, the idea of men seeking validation through women, I don't see any difference between that and this push of females into sports to the degree that it is now.
Yeah, I don't think they have a problem with that. I honestly think that PUAs are basically just concerned with men taking control of their chances with women. That's what it's about. I think that's it. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's popular, because those guys are aware, I'm sure, of gynocentrism, of the problems with, feminism and social justice and the feminization of men and fathers' rights and all these other things, right? But I think that they're not interested in trying to change any of those things, and they think that if they can just control that which is right within reach, so essentially their personal relationships, they can salvage something. And they also, I think, highly value sexual success. Like that's like their only thing. And I think that most men, it's probably why it's the most popular, would probably agree with it, because they do see themselves as more individualistic and less collectivist than women do. So it's one of the biggest struggles I think that the MRM has, because the MRM wants to collectively protect men legally and culturally and societally. But the issue with that is that most men don't see themselves as part of a collective. That's why the Gillette ad, for example, they're not going to lose money. They're probably going to they're going to make money.
They won't lose money.
No, it's not going to hurt them financially much. They're probably going to see some growth. So, like, for example, most men who watch the Gillette ad, the way the communication in the ad comes out is it says most men are bad, but there are some good ones. Which one are you, one of the good ones, or are you one of the bad ones? And the thing is that most men would say, well, I don't see this as an attack on all men, because I'm not I don't have a collectivist way of thinking. So I think that's not about me.
Yes.
Because I'm one of the good ones.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go and stop the bad ones.
Yeah.
And that's because that's the way men work. Like, women are more collectivist. So when you, like, if you make something that criticizes some women, all women get upset.
Yeah.
Because, like, they think that it's against all women. But men don't see themselves as a group called men. And I think that it's evolved that way on purpose, so that when guys go and die, for us, we don't get all hurt about it, because we can't, because we need them to do that. When men risk their life to make sure that, that we have running water, that we have, we can flush the toilet, that the power turns on, that we have working heat, whatever. And that kills men, right?
Yeah.
We have to be able to disconnect ourselves from them, because we need them to do that job. And I think that we've evolved that way. But women, on the other hand, is the opposite, because of the same reason, because we needed them we needed women so that we could survive. So I think that this is just a natural consequence of the way that we've evolved together. So women tend to see each other as more collectivist. That's why, like, the what was that thing, Protein World advertisement? Do you remember that, with the thin woman? It says, "Are you Beachbody ready?"
Yes.
That's why women everywhere got butthurt over it, even if they didn't look like they if they didn't look like land whales and they actually looked more like the girl in the advertisement, they were like, well, that's not nice. That's mean to women. Whereas this ad, the Gillette one, men are like, well, that's not about me because I'm one of the good ones. And so that's the way men, we're just wired differently, that doesn't impact us unless you're consciously thinking about it in a collectivist way,
Wait a second, Brian, are you telling me that men and women are not the same?
I know, it's crazy. It's almost like it's almost like we evolved differently. It's crazy.
It's fucking amazing.
Brian, I thought a woman was gonna come over and fix your boiler. Isn't that true? No.
Yeah, I didn't even. I figured it was gonna be a team of women that were gonna come over and fix the heat of the furnace tomorrow. Yeah.
Hey, another. This is not a. This is a question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe? I mean, when we talk about these issues, everything we've just discussed, do you believe that it is isolated to, let's say, the Western world?
I guess it depends on what you mean by the issues. I think that the kinds of the kinds of stuff that you see in the advertising.
Well, as far as you just mentioned about women's behavior and the collective and how they think.
No. I think that's everywhere.
That's worldwide. No. You believe?
Yeah, that? I think that's true of men and women in general everywhere.
Yes.
I think that in the way that's just I think so, and I think that again it's for the same reasons, because it benefits us as a species that men and women think that way, and that we think that way of them. So it's not just women see other women as part of a collective, but men see women as part of a collective.
Yeah.
And it's not just that men see other men as individuals, but women see men as individuals too. So women don't see men as a collective; they only see women as a collective. And I think that that's everywhere, and I think that that's how come we've been able to live to this point and live at this level today, because we had to do that.
I want to give a little bit. I want to tell a little story, a little personal story, and then I'm going to segue into a comment that someone made.
Okay.
Now, my story was presented by the question I asked just recently. When my last year in Indonesia, I was living in Bali, and I knew I was on my way out. I knew I was done. I was like, nah, you know what? I've been doing this for 13 years. I got to make my way out of here. And I got to bring my kid with me. And I was teaching at an English language school. It was a very large step down from what I used to have.
Mm-hmm.
But I was teaching at this English language school, and I used that a little to my advantage with a lot of the men that were in the classrooms, because I was teaching adults English, okay? And so I used a little bit of my knowledge, and you have to remember my concept of MGTOW and MRA and that whole red pill concept, that came to me while I was there, right? I wasn't in this country. I was on the other side of the world when that happened. So that bug was in my brain, and I knew I was on my last year. I knew I was on my way out. So I started to talk to some of the male students that I had, because often after class you'd go out with the students, have a coffee, talk, and it's great because they still have a chance to keep practicing their English. And I started to feed into to the male minds that I was teaching this concept of MGTOW. All right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were adults. These weren't children. These were adults. They were my age, a little bit younger, maybe a little older. They were all adults. And I used to feed after class, go for coffee, feed a little bit more. Red pill, here's a little red pill, drop a red pill here, drop a red pill there. And these are Southeast Asian men. And God damn, I know that culture and the women there. But it was so fascinating, because the first thing that came up was a man saying, I know a guy who's into PUA. And of course he didn't call it PUA. I don't remember what he called it.
But it was basically pickup artists.
Yes,
sure.
it was, and there So I met the guy. We went out for coffee, had a long talk, met the guy, and he was paying money to go to a course, a class, a whole meeting. Like what do you call it? Like
you mean like
a seminar?
A seminar for PUAs, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah, they do that all the time. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, they totally cash in on that. Yeah,
it was incredible, man. I couldn't believe it. And he said, meet this guy, and I met him, and I talked to him, and he's going on and on about the seminar. I've got this book and this book, and I was like, what the fuck? So I started dropping MGTOW pills on him, and he came around. Like he was like, yeah, okay, I get what you're saying. The point I'm trying to make of this story is that men and women are the same everywhere. I don't care where you go; they're the same. So it's something that men need to understand. And we're talking about men. The man in Southeast Asia was paying a lot of money to go to a seminar to watch some PUA guy tell him how to pick up women.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the reason why the PUA movement, another reason why it's gotten a lot bigger than MGTOW philosophy or the MRM, because the PUAs they promise frustrated men something that they're willing to pay for and have been willing to pay for a long, long time. And they use blue-pilled men to make a lot of that money. And I know that they're supposed to be red-pilled, and I think that some of them are on a lot of things.
Yeah.
But I think that most people who follow that get involved with that are blue-pilled guys for sure.
Absolutely.
And I mean, that's where most of the money is. So.
But it's people are paying money for that shit, man.
Oh yeah, they have been for years. Men will because especially guys they get burned a couple times, or they're virgins, or they're shy. I mean, how many dudes are being raised by single mothers and don't know how to talk to women?
Right.
And that's the majority. In the U.S., it's like a lot of guys, and they're looking to, and the only thing they know, because if they have only had their mother, they know that pleasing their mother is where their happiness comes from. So when they become adults and they go out into the world to find a woman, they're looking for their mother again.
Yeah. And
so because they just want to please her. And that's where you get all this, gynocentric blue pill cuckery, all these male feminists, all of these, Antifa is basically just a bunch of lonely dudes. And I'm not saying that to be dismissive, because I know that that's often a slur used against the MRM and MGTOW and incels and all that. Yeah. But no, I mean, you look at Antifa guys and they're all, single mothers. They're looking to serve somebody. Antifa's run by feminists, women's who are teachers, and they're just weaponizing blue pill guys. So,
Wow. I mean that.
Well, look, we're talking a lot about PUAs. I see that this seems to be what we're drifting into. The biggest crux in my argument and my issue with the concept of PUAism is it tells you to not be you. It gives you a playbook that you're really not going to use. It's like the kid that learned karate and he was a black belt and he gets his ass kicked when he gets into a fight. That's what PUAism. It's you've been training your entire life. You've been reading the books. You've been studying it. Okay, go out there and do it, and you fail. Because I don't know anybody that's actually subscribed to some form of PUA website. I don't know any guy that's ever, done these type of things, read a book about how to pick up women, how to engage and interact with women. PUAism teaches guys how to, a good place to meet women is in the supermarket. If you see her pick this type of yogurt and it's a Chobani organic, why don't you go up and ask her, well, have you tried the blueberry Chobani? No, I haven't. I try it. It's a bunch of fucking bullshit.
I haven't tried it. Now try my pussy.
Yeah. Well, really, why don't you try this yogurt at my place sometime? I'll have this organic cheese, and you can talk about how you're a vegan. And I have gluten-free pasta. Maybe we'll go to Pilates together. Oh, that sounds wonderful. Oh, my God, I love you so much. It's bullshit. And really what it comes down to, as far as my experience getting laid, whether it was in Asia or in the United States. It's basically really just being there at the right time, saying the right thing, being somewhat snarky and funny. It's best when there's a bit of a crowd where you're kind of making her feel a little bit insecure, and as she feels a bit insecure, you kind of make a quick move, a gesture to be polite or something. Little things like that. That's all it really takes. This whole concept of, it's a mathematical formula how to pick up a woman in a coffee shop. It's absolute bullshit. And I always say this, and this is maybe like the third or fourth time I'm going to mention this on the live stream. The most beautiful women I've ever hooked up with, I looked like an absolute fucking slob. I dressed so bad, messy, greasy, unshaven. What do they call it? Neck beards? Neck beards, right? Where you just have, you didn't shave underneath your chin. I was an absolute disaster. I had a 50-cent shirt on. I had a meatball stain shorts. Like I had sauce like all over on my shorts, sandals. Maybe haven't showered in 2 days, and out of nowhere comes an absolute gorgeous girl that wants to talk to me. I'm like, wow, you want to talk to me? Me right now? Okay, great. Me looking my best with my, designer watch, pulling up in a nice car, wearing expensive stuff. I never, ever got pussy that way.
Well, I'll tell you, the segue I wanted to get into from this talk of PUAism is a comment that Rocket Man made. And
Oh, here we go. Now we're gonna get all this.
Okay.
Morbid now. Go from picking up chicks to now talking about killing babies.
Yeah. This is where we're gonna go. But in Rocket Man, I think he's a young man. Like, he's very, very young. I saw him mention in a comment that he said here, I've seen more female bullies in my school than male ones. It's been like that since I was in kindergarten. Now I'm in my sophomore year of high school.
Oh, you're 10th grade? And you're listening to this live stream? Oh, my God.
I know. Jesus Christ.
Your parents.
Where are your parents, man? Are you sure you should be listening to this stuff? Anyway, the one thing he did say was, have we commented on the diabolical law that just got passed in New York? And I want to talk about that. Brian, would you like to talk about that for a moment?
Yeah, we can talk about that. You want to start? You want to give people the lowdown on what it's about?
All right. I have an article pulled up here. Well, let me just find where I put it. I have a couple articles pulled up. And this is wow. And remember, guys, this was pushed forward on the comment of a guy who's still in high school. So remember what we're talking about here. Okay, so I have one article up from the National Review that says most, and this does not talk about this. This is the later articles. I'm not talking about the ones where they lit up the entire, what was it, the new World Trade Center building with pink lights to celebrate. I'm not talking about that. This article says most 2020 Democrats back an abortion bill just like Virginia's.
Well, wait, slow down.
Okay.
Before we get into Andrew Cuomo, why don't we talk about? Now, I sent this to you on not on Hangouts but on WhatsApp. Did you see what happened in Virginia with the Vietnamese congresswoman?
I don't know if you.
Oh, you didn't see that! I cannot believe you, man.
Okay, well,
Brian,
go ahead. Talk about it.
It's basically killing a child when the baby's crowning.
Yeah, there's here Democratic Virginia governor endorses murder of born alive infants. That's the Daily Wire.
Yes.
Now, is that any different than New York?
Yes. It's not. Maybe it is the same. I'm not too sure. All I can say is that the woman, Vietnamese congresswoman, she was asked in front of a committee. Are you saying that basically you're okay with killing a baby that's pretty much a live birth. Soon as the baby's crowning, you ask the mother that's going into what do you call it? When going into delivery,
Yeah.
is it called? Yeah, going into delivery. Do you still want to have this baby? Are you sure? What's happening? You want me to kill it? We'll kill the baby. Just say you want to kill the baby. Just let us know right now. And that's basically what that woman was.
Kathy Tran was her name.
Yes, that's it.
Well, it says in the article, in New York, this is already the law. And Governor Andrew Cuomo celebrated the new law by lighting up state sites pink in honor of the killing of fully formed infants. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Northam
Wow.
excuses this evil by stating that men shouldn't be making these decisions, as though having.
I have a question about this.
Yeah.
Is this a law that already existed and they're just it's sort of like there's just a light put on it? Is this a loophole in an existing law, or is this a new law that have just basically so they're just celebrating the first baby to be killed under this new law?
Yes.
Well,
Okay.
what they're claiming is that the Republicans, Donald Trump and Pence, are going to try banning abortion, which we know is never going to happen. But they're using the scapegoat to push this new abortion bill.
Right. That's why they tried to they tried to ruin Kavanaugh, because they thought he was going to come in and overturn Roe v. Wade.
That's it. Yes,
and,
Kavanaugh.
yeah, and that was we knew that was never going to happen. And the thing is that Roe v. Wade does need to be re-examined. I think that it has been used. It needs to be re-examined because I think it's basically like it's being used in ways that it doesn't necessarily apply. However, that doesn't mean that it's going to, because I think that it's way too sensitive an issue for Americans. Like, they just think, because of the way the left treats it, like, just even like wanting to look closer at it and say, well, you know what, maybe some of this shit doesn't apply, or maybe we should re-examine this case. The left goes crazy and they basically say women are going to lose their rights.
Of course.
And when you say women are going to lose their rights, everybody reacts. So
yeah. Well, this is in a quote from the article. They call it pure infanticide. What's happening here is that, and I think it was Lamprey. You mentioned this to me. In New York State, they wanted this third trimester abortion ability, but they worded it in a way where it had to do with health, the health of the mother. But that health is a bunch of bullshit with new 1984 newspeak, because that health can be mental health. And when it's mental
Correct.
health, it can simply mean I'm depressed. I know my baby's about to be born. Just kill it.
That's correct.
mm-hmm.
Like I mentioned just before, is that if there's crowning, right, and the baby's coming out, obviously the mother is in excruciating pain, so the nurse is going to come over and whisper in her ear, it can all end.
Yeah.
You can end it right now. Just tell us. Do you want it? Do you want this? Do you want this? Just let us know.
Mm-hmm.
We'll kill it. That's basically what they're doing. It's the same way if you're, asking a female that was in a Me Too movement, did he touch you? Where did he touch you? Tell us. Did he rape you?
Mm-hmm.
Just tell us he raped you. Was it rape? So it's
And
basically
we'll
a
end
form
the
of
pain.
Right. It'll end the pain. Just let us know that he raped you. Just let us go ahead and take the pain away.
Yeah,
So.
you got to be careful. You got to be careful how these people talk, these politicians and these lawyers. I mean, they're horrible.
They're like police. They're like the cops. They're your best friend. They're your best friend. Just tell us who you're covering for.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And it's funny, the way that you kind of talked about that is it reminds me of when my own ex-woman that is the mother of my child. I don't like to call her my ex-wife. I don't know why. I don't like it. She's not.
Mm-hmm.
She's just the mother of my son. That's it.
She's the meat bag that gave you a child.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember when she was in labor, in Indonesia, and I got the call from the hospital. I knew she was in the hospital. I knew she was waiting to be born, to give birth. And I got the call, and I went over there right away, got into the hospital, and I was greeted by a female nurse who said, we want to cut her belly open and do a C-section. I said, why? Like, what's the purpose of that? Why can't she just give a natural birth? He said, oh, well, you know, she's been in labor for quite a few hours. What was it, 12 hours? I'm like, and this is the thing. When my wife got pregnant, I did what a man would normally do. I researched everything about pregnancy. Everything. I mean, I went through every article, every file that I could find online about pregnancy. And this female nurse was pushing me to get a C-section. I'm like, you want to cut my wife's belly open to take the kid out? Like, why can't it just come out her vagina like normal? And they kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And one of the things I found is that C-sections under the World Health Organization said that worldwide C-sections should only be less than 20% of all births. And so when I asked the nurse, what's the reason? Oh, well, it's just better. It was bullshit. And the doctor was never there. The doctor was never there.
Mm-hmm.
Doctor was playing golf. I want to cut your wife's belly open and take the kid out of it. And I was like, no, you're not going to fucking do that. And also, it costs $300 more if you want this to happen. And $300 isn't a lot for us here, but over there, that's a lot of fucking money.
Yeah.
You know, what they're getting to cut a woman's stomach open. So I fought it and fought it and fought it, and they made me sign a piece of paper agreeing that I have agreed to allow my wife to give birth naturally. I had to sign a piece of paper. They would have cut her belly open without a signature. But in order for her to give a natural birth, they needed a signature. And my wife gave birth naturally, and she was fine. She was absolutely fine. And then I asked the nurse, because the doctor wasn't there, she was playing golf. I asked the nurse, I said, how many of all the pregnancies you have in your hospital here, how many of them are C-section? She said, oh, about 50%. So so when it comes down to not just, I mean, the concept of birth and the surgery or even the killing of the child, there's money involved, man.
Mm-hmm.
And these nurses that are involved, they don't give a fuck. They don't care. Cut the belly, I don't give a fuck. Cut it open, take it out. Unnecessary surgery. Again, we can go into circumcision and all that kind of shit. But the point I'm making is that when it comes to this kind of surgery, whether it be C-section, circumcision, or abortion, there's money involved, man. And these people don't give a shit. They don't care.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing that's part of this law is it doesn't have to be a doctor to perform the whatever the third trimester abortion. It can be a school nurse.
A nurse, absolutely. I mean, the nurse can cut you open too.
Right. So that's also something that's part of this this new abortion law. When speaking to my family in regards to it, of course, they were all horrified. One thing is obviously the slippery slope that it's now gone into full-blown baby killing. You know, we're not talking about a little embryo. We're not talking about a 1 week, 2 week, you know, a woman puking, realizing that she's pregnant, you know, within the first month. We're talking a full-blown grown child that's 7 pounds, right? Mm-hmm. And my family feels that this is now a backdoor into killing off baby boomers when they reach their twilight.
Oh, that's Soylent Green, man.
Yes, this is what I believe and this is what my family feels that what's really behind this is that now the baby boomers are getting to that age where they're going to need a lot of medical care, and this is now a backdoor, a bit of a canary in the coal mine, if you want to use that term, where there's going to start initiating comfort care to all the elderly because you're not economically viable anymore.
Here, take this. Go to sleep. Take this needle, and
right.
And
then, green as people.
It's a lot cheaper to fucking just stick a needle in you and put you in a fire, I suppose.
Well, look, 80% of a person's medical expenses are spent at the very last few years of their lives. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. And we're going to have a plethora of old people dying off soon.
Yep.
What are we going to do? What is the plan? We used to joke around about Sarah Palin and the death panels. I actually do think that's a real thing. I haven't really researched the topic too deep enough to see if that's plausible, but going by what we see with the vaccines and now this new abortion law where it's Roe versus Wade on steroids, I actually do think it's something to be taken seriously.
No, absolutely. Brian, we live in a sick and twisted world, brother.
Yeah, man, we do.
We should
when I was we got to give it the boot first, throw it against the ropes, give it the boot, then let it drop.
Yes.
When I was in college, before I went to college, I used to be a really big pro-choice guy. I didn't really understand though like all of the factors involved, and then I went to college and I'll never forget it because the one class that I took that was the most interesting to me was this ethics and science class. And the teacher brought up abortion, and he said, he asked the question, who here is pro-life, who here is pro-choice, and of course most people are pro-choice. And he said, but did you know, he brought up this question. He said, did you know that we don't know when a fetus becomes a living person, like at what stage? And what I took from that, like there were still people who didn't want to change their minds about it, but it really affected me a lot because from that point on, I basically stayed kind of clear of the abortion debate because there is no clear answer as to when that happens. And so I see the pro-life people make a lot of sense, from that, because I've seen the debates about it, and it's well then, yeah, when does it happen? Besides, let's take this a step further. If a woman does not want to have a baby, then why is she getting pregnant at all?
Exactly. Look, one of the best arguments I heard, and this was a long time ago. I was still in Indonesia, and it was my channel was just new. I was a baby to YouTube, and I had this beautiful man. His channel was called Six Senses. I loved the guy. But he's disappeared from YouTube. I hope he's still around. But I had some great talks with him. And what he said to me was, abortion is basically fuck up control. You fucked up.
Or you don't care, I think is another one.
Yes, you fucked up. Now what are you going to do? And this is what he went on to say. A woman has... In the modern age, she has the availability of 12 plus forms of contraceptive.
I think we're at 17 forms.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
And most of them are either free of cost or very inexpensive. And still, she gets pregnant. And after pregnancy, she still has options. She can adopt the child. Or she can give it to the goddamn father.
Or she could leave it in front of a fire station.
Exactly. She could leave
it. She could, yeah. Yes. At a church.
Yes. She could go and put it on the steps of a church and someone would take it. Yet, they're being pushed to believe you gotta kill it. And that's not the worst of it, because now she can be on the the birthing table and crowning, and have a nurse whisper in her ear, "Do you want us to kill this baby?" She can nod her head, and that baby is dead. And that's fucked up.
Yeah, or they can like give birth, and the baby's in the other room.
Yes.
I think that was what they were talking about in this new thing, right? Where the baby could be in the other room, newly born, and they could be discussing the future of that baby, whether or not it lives.
Yes.
And that, when I heard about that, I was like, well, I mean, the slippery slope that, you know, the pro-life people have been talking about, it's real. This is it.
It's happened.
And I think that if anything, this is going to, I think that there are, first of all, I think there are far more pro-life people than pro-choice people in the United States. And I think that this is actually going to cement it. And I also want to say that the majority of people who are pro-life are women, or at least that are overtly, vocally pro-life. I think that in general, the pro-life, pro-choice conversation is dominated by women because they're the ones that get pregnant. Men do have opinions on it, but I think that most of the time men don't really talk about it. And it could be for a couple reasons. One, there are men who basically don't feel like they can say anything to it because they're not women. But I do think that most men don't say anything to it because the only thing they care about is whether or not the babies that are had are theirs, or not. Right. So, you know, like if it's not my baby, then I don't give a shit.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right, man. You're absolutely right. Most of those.
Listen, my father says he still wants to abort me.
Give it another 10 years, he'll be able to do it.
Shake your father's hand for me. Oh, that's incredible. But no, seriously, I mean, you're right, Brian. Most of them would be women. Why not? I mean, it makes sense. It makes absolute sense.
They're the ones because but I mean, women want to they control the social sphere, so they don't just decide how people, you know, like where the Overton window is in terms of like what people should have opinions on and talk about and what the important issues are. And, you know, they're the ones who vote in all these old white men into positions of political power that feminists always complain about. Well, they're elected by women because they make up the majority of voters and they vote more often.
Yes. It's the hand that rocks the cradle, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And so they also are most interested in whether or not other women should be reproducing, like whether or not they get to have abortions or not, and how that goes about. Women decide that because they have a bigger vested interest in that. Let's put it that way.
Well, again, the old adage is the hand that rocks the cradle. And if your hand rocks the cradle, what that means is that you live in a system where maternity is guaranteed through biology. And you can't argue against biological fact. Maternity is guaranteed. Paternity is not. You and I, look, Brian, the next time your wife gets pregnant, you're probably going to think it's yours, but you can't guarantee that. But when the baby comes out of her, she knows it's hers.
Yeah.
So that's something that people don't really understand.
Well, I'm safe. That'll never happen to me.
Oh yeah, that's right. You only got one ball.
I can't have kids anymore. So I can't. Nobody can. That means that nobody can try to like hit them on me either.
So yeah, exactly. So if your wife gets pregnant, you know it's not yours.
No, I know for sure it's not. Yeah.
Holy, that's a great fail-safe. I think I'm gonna.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, it's like a side effect, but I'm like, yeah, I'm okay with that.
I'm gonna chop my ball off right now.
Well, it should be noted, Ayam, you'll love this, that there was a unanimous decision amongst Democrats in the state of New York to push this abortion bill through. Only one Democrat said no. And you know who that Democrat was?
Who?
A Muslim man.
Oh, yeah. That's right. It was in an article you sent me. That's incredible.
That's right. So the bigger question is, and you know, we can talk about the debating the concept of abortion. We can, you know, debate when is it actually a person, when is it conscious, so on and so forth. But what's the biggest plan here? What is really happening? Now, what I personally think what's going on is that whenever the Democrats get an inch, they're taking a mile at this point. So they're shoving this abortion bill. They also, in the city of New York, they're pushing more, infringements on the Second Amendment, where they're trying to curtail men purchasing firearms. Where now they're saying if you were in a domestic dispute with your spouse, you have to surrender your firearm. Okay, so what's the definition of a domestic dispute? Was it you fighting with your wife over where you put your shoes when you came home from work? Okay, does she call the cops now and you got to surrender your firearm over it? Okay, and then we have the abortion bill. So basically now is that whenever the Democrats have a little bit of an advantage, they're going after it. They're striking while the iron's hot very quickly, where again, unfortunately, with the Republicans and Trump, they are playing not to lose. They're not playing to win, and this seems to be ongoing with people that have conservative values now for the past 15 years, where the conservatives have not gained one bit of ground for almost 2 decades now since Bush. And every time the Democrats get a little piece of something, they take a whole chunk.
Yeah.
So. And this bill went so quick, without anyone's knowledge. It went so fast. Okay, good. We're gonna kill babies. Good. Okay, we're moving on now. Right? It was so fast. The day after Governor Cuomo won the election, the following day he announced Amazon moving to Long Island City and gives them $2 billion in tax incentives to move Amazon to Long Island City.
That's incredible.
And of course, everyone's protesting about it. But when my coworkers came to me saying, "Hey, Nick, look what's going on. Can you believe what Amazon?" I go, you fucking voted for it. You voted for that fucking moron. Can you even tell me who went against Cuomo? Can you even name the guy's name? They couldn't name him. Couldn't name him.
Mm-hmm.
Running unopposed at this point. AOC Cortez, she ran unopposed.
Yeah.
Trump is a little bit of a different situation. Trump didn't have that much money backing him versus Hillary Clinton. What was the money poured into Hillary Clinton versus the money poured into Donald Trump? It's laughable. It was like the Super Bowl, Patriots and Rams. You knew the Patriots going to win, right? So it's really unfortunate that there really is no opposition to the Democratic machine. And there hasn't been an opposition to the Democratic machine going on over, pre-Obama. As soon as Obama came in, they've been running roughshod across the United States, and the general populace is completely fucking had it. The ones who vote conservative, vote libertarian, vote nationalism, vote against immigration, they have no say. They still don't have a voice. All they have is Trump on a standing on a milk crate bitching and moaning about stuff. That's all you got. Oh, it's fake news. Fake news this, fake news that. Okay, great. So do something about CNN and MSNBC. Are you going to do something?
Build a wall.
The wall. You build a wall. No wall. In fact, you're spending more money than Obama did, and you have not downsized the government.
Yeah.
So this is what we have to face, guys. I mean, so when we joke about comfort care for baby boomers, it might happen.
No, it's a reality, man. I mean, it really is no joke. The political system is the WWE, as far as I'm concerned. Mm-hmm. And I've said that before. It is Hulk Hogan giving you the boot and the leg drop.
Yeah, it's bread and circuses.
It's bread and circuses, man.
On the plus side, though, when it comes to the media, there are some changes. You guys heard about all the layoffs, right?
Yes.
Huffington Post,
yes.
Vice.com, Mike.com.
I wanted to get into that, actually, yes.
They're like laying off all of their editorial staff. People are losing jobs everywhere, and they're going to have to learn to code. And also, about the Covington Catholic School boys. They're suing a whole bunch of people, and their lawyers have sent letters out. I have a list here. They sent letters. They're going to be suing the following companies or groups: the New York Times, Maggie Haberman, the Washington Post, CNN, NPR, Savannah Guthrie, Andrea Mitchell, Joy Reid, Chuck Todd, The Hill, The Atlantic, Kathy Griffin, GQ Magazine, Elizabeth Warren, The Guardian, TMZ, Capitol Hill Publishing Corporation, Diocese of Covington, Diocese of Lexington, Archdiocese of Louisville, Diocese of Baltimore, Aaron Burnett, Sarah Cinder, Anna Carbera, Amanda Watts, Ilan Omar, Noah Berlatsky, Elisha Feldstadt, and Young Kyum Kim. And these kids, it doesn't matter if they win or not. I think the spectacle is really going to wake a lot of people up. And we already know that the next generation of people coming up are slated to be more conservative, basically the most conservative generation since the greatest generation of World War II.
Yeah.
Now,
I agree, man.
I think that, but I want to say with some caveats, though, because it's important to point out. I think that when they say that, I think they mean more right-wing, which is basically more leaning towards freedoms and individual liberty, as opposed to social issues. Like to a degree, I think it's true. But I think socially, they're going to still be pretty liberal. But I don't think they're going to be leftist. And I think that's an important distinction. I think they're going to be like right-wing liberals, which I think is absolutely a true thing that can happen.
Well, if the next generation leans a little bit more right than it does now, that would warm my heart. Absolutely.
I think it's going to be a lot more.
Well,
yeah.
And not just that though. You have to remember that lawsuit that you're talking about. They're suing for libel.
Yeah.
And that's not an easy case to win, man.
No, it's not an easy case to win, but the point is the noise. See, that it doesn't matter if they win or not, really.
Right.
The point is the noise they're going to make, because it's going to be talked about. You know, people are going to see, and they're going to get some people. And we saw how much they lied on these kids.
Yeah.
And they continue to lie. And so somebody has to make a stand. And I think that's what I hope for is, if they won a lawsuit, I think that'd be great, but I'm not going to hold my breath on that.
I doubt it. Yeah, I doubt it.
But what would be good is if they stood up and they say, enough is enough, we're sick of you guys lying about us, and more people follow suit and do the same. True. Because you gotta get enough people to basically say, this is, I'm the lying media, it has to stop. We don't have to, I don't want to wait until a president comes along to fix my problems.
Yeah.
I think that we have to do it, right? So. No,
you're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, a libel accusation is a real hard one to win. Mm-hmm. And they probably won't win it, but you're right. If they can make noise, and the thing is that more people could probably do that same accusation, but it costs money. If somebody is guilty of libel against you, then you got to go to court. You got to hire a lawyer, especially on this grand scale of things. And it costs money, and most people aren't. They can't afford it. So I don't hold my breath for libel accusations to make a change. Although this one, you're right, Brian, it might make a little wave, and that's something.
What I'd like to know is why did the church apologize and then retract the apology? The church, I'm sorry, not the church, but the school, which is a Catholic. No, well, it's a Catholic.
It's a Catholic school.
It's all the church.
Well, no. Well, let me explain to you, because all three of my brothers went to Catholic high school, and my father is a football coach for the Catholic high school that my brothers went to. The Catholic Church and the local high school, the private Catholic high school, they're joined together. Usually a lot of the priests live inside the high school, and then vice versa. They share the same grounds and everything. So the question is, who scared the high school and the local church into apologizing and condoning the young lad who stood up to the fucking crackhead Native American drinking mouthwash?
Well, he's an actor too. He's
an actor.
He was in a music video.
8 Skrillex music video.
Yeah, man. Goddamn actor.
What was he? Say that again.
He was in a Skrillex music video.
Yeah, he's an
Yeah,
actor.
he was an actor. Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding
No,
me?
he's
No,
an actor.
seriously.
Holy shit! I did not. Now my mind's blown. I'm blown.
He's an actor and an activist, which basically these days is
It's the
one of the
same
same
thing. It's the same fucking thing, man.
Yeah.
But who told the church and the school to apologize? They said they were bullied into apologizing. Who bullied them? That's what I want to know. Give me names.
The school was.
The school was, but who told the school to do it?
I don't know. That'd be good to know.
You see what I'm saying? Because
Mhm.
whatever that force is, that's the enemy of the country. Okay, but we're never gonna know who told the school to step down, who threatened the school, who threatened the local church.
Well,
right?
find out who hired that guy, that actor. Find out who hired him.
Right.
And then you'll have another close.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. When I was looking for when I moved back to New York, and I was looking for work, I was on the classifieds, and they were paying people $25 an hour to go be an activist against some a fresh water agreement out in the Hamptons or some shit. Wow. So there are ads on classifieds on Craigslist and on Backpage for activists to go to local town councils and make a scene
and have an opinion. Yeah.
And have an opinion. But you're doing it for the money. It's not like you really care about what the opinion is. You only care about the 25 an hour.
Yeah, I just want my paycheck, and I'll go put my face in front of a white kid anytime I want. I mean, just pay me the money. And this is starting to get shown to the public, and people are so slow to understand it. That a lot of what we're seeing in the media is, I want to say scripted. But it's not 100% scripted. But there are players involved. Money is exchanged between hands, and there are people that act to play a part. That's the reality of television. So it's real. God, man, I've spent years trying to tell people that, and now they're finally seeing it because somebody found out this Indian isn't a fucking Indian. It's scripted. It's not real. The media isn't real. It's the WWE. You know, and I mentioned this before, Brian, on a talk we did a couple weeks ago, and it had to do with the politics. And it's like Trump is a great heel. He's a great heel. And you cheer for a heel. You know this. Trump is like Rowdy Roddy Piper. He's a heel you love to hate. And you cheer for him. He's a great heel. And he'll never be a baby face. He'll never be a face. If Trump becomes a face, he's dead. They'll kill him.
Yeah.
His run is over. But that's reality, man. Like, we're living in this goddamn entertainment paradigm, and I'm sick of it. Fucking sick of it, man.
So what are you saying? You're saying that Tom Brady didn't really win the Super Bowl? Is that what you're trying to get at right
now? Super Bowl is like WWE also. Like, who's going to win? You know?
Mentioned the backdrop tonight, which I thought was pretty classic, and I thought of you when I snapped that photo. This is a picture of a sticker I saw on the New York City subway. I was I was sitting down, and there was a sticker near the door, and I see that it was the Star Wars character that we all seem to fucking hate, and it looks like a guy took his fingernail and ran right down that fucking cunt's face. I fucking hate that picture.
Did you see it, Brian? Did you see the?
No.
Look at the live stream at the picture that I put as a backdrop.
Oh, you're talking about Ray?
Yeah.
I can't. Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
Lamprey took a picture of it.
Even in liberal New York City, the people have had it, man.
Yeah. He took that picture on the subway. Somebody just took the picture and went, just ripped his face right off, man.
Oh yeah. I hope it was to, make a statement about Ray and not just to take that face home to, like, do God knows what to it.
Doubt.
It was a statement. It was definitely a statement.
I'm sure it was.
But you love.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I think the invention of the internet has actually, it's the fact that this is at least for as long as it remains free, the truth is coming out at a pace that the mainstream media, politicians, activists, academics, they can't even keep up.
No.
And it burns their ass because they can't control the truth anymore. It's coming out faster. That's why, this is like, I have a lot of optimism for the future. And maybe not in my lifetime, although I think there will be some serious changes in my lifetime. And I see that in how fast kids consume media and what they're looking at. I will explain. Look at Rocket Man says, most of my fellow Gen Zers that I have encountered are hard left. But when you say that, I want to ask you, do you mean hard left as in socially liberal, like they're okay with same-sex marriage and, they're not racist and things like that? Because I think that that's most people. Or are you saying they're hard left as in they're communists that want to redistribute all the wealth and they believe in systems of oppression? I'd be curious about that. But let me give you my little anecdote. And I know it's just an anecdote, but I think it does speak to a trend that I'm noticing. So when I had cancer, and if I'm telling you a story that you've heard before, let me know.
Your ball cancer.
Yeah, when I had testicular cancer in late 2017, December, I had the operation, and then I was sent home, I want to say right at the end of December, like right around Christmas time. And I spent a month bedridden, because they cut me open to get all the cancer out of my chest and abdomen. And, it was bad.
That's harsh,
right?
man.
I was just like, couldn't move. I was fucked, right? And I'm like laying there. And so I spent a lot of time on my back. And I was and just sort of sitting up.
It's a good thing you're not a woman, because we could take that wrong. But anyway, continue.
And that's okay. And so I would watch a lot of YouTube videos because I don't watch TV because there's nothing on there that interests me. So I'd watch a lot of YouTube videos, or I'd watch my movie collection or something like that. And I watched lots of YouTube videos about philosophy and history and like gender stuff, but occasionally I get burned out on that, and I just like, I don't want to like get into heavy shit right now. I don't want to watch 2 hours of Jordan B. Peterson or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. So I'll just be like, okay, I think I just want to watch something stupid and fun. So I started watching these videos that were they had a lot of views that young people were watching. They were like meme videos. They were You Laugh, You Lose. I think PewDiePie he does those as well. And I was watching these meme videos. And I noticed that these were videos with lots of views that were very popular, lots of comments. Young people loved them, okay? And what I noticed is there was a lot of anti-social justice, anti-feminism, pro, men's issues stuff hidden. It's all funny stuff, but there's an underlying, you'll see like Kathy Newman clips and Jordan B. Peterson clips, and Karen Strawn will be in there sometimes. And I was surprised by that. Like Ben Shapiro is on them. Joe Rogan, although I wouldn't say Joe Rogan is right wing, but he is like he has people from all over on there. So these people that are watching this stuff, they don't have a problem with right wing ideas. In fact, it seems like they like them enough that they think it's entertaining, right? And so when I watched that, I got to thinking, millennials, which are basically like the regressives, right? The progressive left. They can't stand to see, like, if they hear that men's rights activists are getting together to do something, they think that something nefarious is going on. If they think Gamergate is gathering someplace, they want to bomb it, right? They can't stand to be exposed to it at all. When Warren Farrell, like probably the gentlest, most hippie fucking MRA guy I've ever met, when he wants to go to a speaking engagement, they think it's going to be a rape orgy and they want to stop it. This generation, this new generation of kids, they're at least open to it, and best, and I think that in many cases it's the case, they're actually supportive of it. They understand it. And I think that when those kids, if the internet stays free, and that's key because I know that it's under attack
It
in
won't.
a really big way, but if it stays free long enough, I think those kids were going to grow up and to become adults, and they're going to change the way that our society moves. I think that because the truth will be out there. And yes, I know that it's under attack, and it probably, I mean, it all depends, I guess, on what happens in the next, I'd say, 10 years.
Yeah.
Because then those kids are going to be adults. So if it becomes like the Chinese internet in the next 5 years or so, then we're probably fucked. But if it survives that, then we'll see.
It warms my heart, Brian, that you have that much hope, and I want to have that much hope too, and I still do.
I see it. I mean, I see it. I think that it's possible, but I understand that this could be the end. We're definitely at a crossroads.
Yes,
put it that way.
Yes, we are at a crossroads. You have children,
Mm-hmm.
right, Brian?
Oh no, I don't have any kids.
Oh, that's right. You got one ball. Jesus. I have a child.
Well, the thing is, I was smart enough to, I never had unprotected sex, so I was at least smart enough not to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I have a child, and it was planned. It was absolutely planned. I don't want to go into detail on how much I planned it, but I planned it, and I have a kid now, and I'm proud of that fact. But I'm terrified of the future.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
I constantly think about it, about what he sees, what he'll be a part of, and I guess that's a part of being a man in a certain way. So I love your optimism. I have it too. I do. I really do. Honestly. Yeah. Honestly, I do. Like I look, every time I come on this chat with Lamprey and we talk, I have a good time, or with you or anybody else, any of our guests. I have a great time. But in the end, I think, wow, we're discussing stuff that's not really uplifting.
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about stuff. We talk a lot about the future, and we're talking about a future that might be kind of grim. But every day I have to kind of go back and say, you know what? I'm optimistic.
Yeah.
I have a kid, and I have to be, So I hope you guys are too. I do.
All right.
All right, man. You want to end it there?
Yeah, we can end it there. I really appreciate you coming on again, Brian. This is your
that was great, Brian. Thanks for joining for the post.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, if you guys want to talk about other stuff in the future, let me know. I don't know if there was other things you wanted to get into or whatever. But
I want to talk about Cortez, but maybe we'll save that for the next time you come on.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see what she's been up to.
God, we could talk about Star Wars, wrestling, Cortez. There's a lot of shit we can talk about, man.
Mm-hmm.
A lot. And you have a great mind and a great opinion, so it's
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brian, it was really cool. Thanks, man.
Oh, thank you.
All right, guys. Have a good night. And for the listeners, thanks for tuning in, and thanks for your patience, because the stream didn't work in the beginning. It's working now. And we'll see you again next time. Love you guys. See you again. Good night.
Good night.
Night.